Welcome to the channel. In this episode, I'll be stepping out of my comfort zone once again and doing woodworking. I'm updating a mudroom slash half bath and getting rid of the pedestal sink and need to build a vanity. This room is very small, so it was very limited choices of what I can do. There's nothing that you can buy pre-made to fit in the corner and not be either too tiny or too big, so I decided to build something from scratch. So what I've done is I built a cabinet to fit the corner, got all my measurements, and seems to go okay. The corners, because the 45, everything was a little bit strange for me, so I had to cut these angles here at 22.5 to achieve the 45-degree angle. So that was a bit of a challenge. I did the base first and built on top of that. Measuring was a little bit challenging as well. I thought I made the base too small to start with, but then I realized the outer panels go on the outside, so it worked out. It was a good mistake. And I built the doors from scratch with just shaker panels, shaker style. And it's the first time I tried to build a door, so it worked out okay. I put recessed hinges, European style, soft close hinges. That's what it's set up for. And thanks to YouTube specialists that show how to do this kind of stuff, so I'm no genius there. And I'll just move this a bit. And once again, I'm using the wood I'd cut for my previous wooden working project. The trees are cut in the back. This is a Bradford pear that had slabbed, and it's been curing and drying for about 2 years in my tool shed. And this is what the countertop is going to be. It's going to be a challenge cutting 2 inches of this particular wood to put it in the sink. It's just a drop-in sink that I'm doing. So I think it'll work all right. It's just going to be a bit of a challenge. It has been so far. In the room itself, I had to build a 45-degree wall, extension to the wall to mount a mirror in front of you. So you couldn't, it wouldn't look right if you had the 45-degree corner sink and then having to look off to the left or the right to look in the mirror. So had to put a little addition in there. So here goes the build. Hope you enjoy it, and I'm sure the pros will cringe at some of my methods, but anyway, here it goes. Thanks. Okay, the base is done. As far as manufacturing, I haven't put anything together yet permanently. These corners here, they're cut at 22.5 to give me a 45-degree. Same on the other side. And just a square cut here. And rather than getting more of these boards, and I had some extra plywood from what I bought this morning, I just cut the plywood down to give me an extra spacer here to make it solid around the edge. And I'm not too sure if this is correct or not, but I suspect that in this area, when it goes up against the drywall, the corners are never 90 degrees, so I decided to cut this and just to get away from that, so I don't have to fiddle around with that. And basically that's it. So let's see, it's for the toe kick, it's a 2-inch distance. I just measured the kitchen cabinet, so it was 2 inches between the toe kick and the outer board. There's a frame that goes here. The front will be probably poplar, and this side here, oops, over here, I just got another piece of plywood and cut it accordingly. So the plywood, they're here stacked on the bench. They're cut at 22.5 degrees as well to get me the 45, and hopefully that'll work. It may not, but we'll find out. I'm no carpenter by the stretch of the imagination, but I think it'll work. Well, the base is done. This is probably the easiest part of the project, I'm afraid. I just used some little angle clamps to, or angle irons to, these aren't angle irons, little angle pieces to hold it down, and glued, and brad nailed the corners. These got to be smoothed out a little bit. No big deal. And I think it'll be solid. I got to sand these corners to stick out a little bit. That's in the way in the back anyway, so that's not a big deal as well. Anyway, this will be the top. Oops, I'll get this turned over here. Here we go. Yeah, that's the top. Let's see what happens. Now to build a frame and the rest of the stuff that goes on top of this. This is one of the boards I found. It's from an old kitchen cabinet that we took down a couple years ago. It'll do. It's oak, but it's going to be painted anyway, so it doesn't matter. So I've got to trim it down to 1.5 inches, and that'll be the bottom section of the door opening. So we'll start with that. I'll bring it down to size. See, I've got to get rid of some of the glue and stuff and all that good stuff, and then I'll start cutting. For the cabinet itself, the wood that I used was just a one sheet of 3/4 inch cabinet grade, and I think there's a veneer on there, and one piece of 8-foot 1x4 poplar, and the rest of the wood is leftovers from another project. When I tore down the kitchen many years ago, I saved the oak pieces, and the 1x2 pieces that were left over worked fine. I used them like over here in the edges, and actually this was a mistake. I made the opening too wide for the doors. I measured wrong, of course, so I used another piece of oak to fill that in, and actually turns out gives you a nice finish over here. So the doors themselves, these are again the oak from shopping in my tool shed, and a piece of paneling from the kitchen project again, and it was left over a 5mm pre-finished board for the backing of the peninsula. And here's a better shot of the countertop. This is a little bit wider than it should be right now because I want to do the final fitting, because I have a funny feeling the walls in this particular mudroom are not exactly 90 degrees, so it's going to take some adjusting. So that's about it. That was, of course, that was free, and so far it's been a very cheap project. I had to buy hinges, of course, that kind of stuff. So, and for the room itself, the corner piece I had put in was again a piece of leftover plywood from the kitchen renovation a couple years ago. This is the reclaimed wood I'm going to use. It's very marginal. I would prefer 2 1/4, but these are actually 2-inch wide. But it should be able to work for me, so I'll give that a shot. A couple are sanded already. These guys I have to sand yet because these were just urethaned in the old kitchen. Now they're going to be painted white once they're done. Frames are cut to size. I just have to cut the, I guess the tenons, the grooves, and to fit the panels and fit the piece together. They're actually 3/4 inch too wide right now because I got to cut 2 3/8 tenons in each one, and that'll bring it back down to 12 inches. So we'll see what happens. Well, I come across a problem with my table saw. What I've got to do is I got to cut the groove in here for the tenon, and it actually will fall in there. Well, it won't fall in there completely, but it'll get jammed and it won't give me a really good quality cut, or maybe a little dangerous. What I've done is I've taken a piece of plywood. I had a strip left over from from making the frames and whatnot, and what I did is I just cut a groove in there, let the blade come through, and I drilled and countersunk a hole here to prevent kickback, and that should take care of that problem. is done, other than the final trimming. I'll do that once I set it in place and do the contour of the wall on it. Everything's ready for painting. The cabinet is ready for painting. I've got a primer and painter in one for the first coat, and then I'll get some final finish paint later. The doors are done. Then it's time to do some test fitting. Well, that's it for this project. Thanks to the pros that posted various methods and tips on YouTube. I used some of these tips very extensively because of the lack of knowledge, and I've never done this kind of stuff before. So anyway, the shop is now sawdust free, mostly, but it's better. Now I've got storage space under the sink that I didn't have before because obviously with a pedestal sink you have no storage space at all. So I was able to get some of the supplies out of the laundry room and put it under there. But now that brought up another issue that my wife wants a wall unit built for the laundry room. So I'll do that project and post that at some future time. So thanks again for watching. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.